Hey ladies, hope you're well in quarantine. I love that we're getting started with this conversation because I'm actually going to use this for my podcast because I actually did a whole episode about sex and women and the misconception that guys aren't good in bed, whatever, blah blah. Fast forward to the comments that appeared today in our chat group or our Black women travel group. So I said that traveling with my man is the best thing ever because the sex is amazing and no drama, all that kind of stuff. And then if you scroll down, I said that, maybe my situation is a special case because our whole relationship is beyond like physical, emotional, it's up to a spiritual level. And someone said, oh my God, I would love to talk about that because it's hard to find. So let's start off with that response. It's hard to find. If you're looking for it, that's already step number one of what not to do. So I will tell you my story about how I got in contact with my boyfriend, how we're having our whole spiritual connection, how that doesn't mean that everything is perfect and like everything is, fairy tale whimsical. It just means a whole different thing. So let me give you some background. Number one, I was married for 9 years and I have two kids, 6 and 8. And right now, by the way, I'm in Switzerland where I've lived for the last 11 years. And during my 9 years of marriage, I never once felt the way I feel now. But the interesting thing about that is it had nothing to do with my spouse. It had nothing to do with my spouse. And it's not to say that there was nothing wrong with him for me, but the whole feeling something and our connection was completely down to myself, my expectations for a relationship, and what I thought love was. So let's just go even further back. I don't know what kind of family that you young, Black, beautiful ladies come from, but I came from an environment of chaos, dysfunction, disorder, a lot of verbal abuse. I saw sometimes physical abuse. And, I thought, okay, I don't want any part of that in my life ever in any relationship. Like, I would not tolerate that. And so I remember watching. At Oprah one time, and she was saying like, she saw the same thing in her household, and she thought, I would never let a man hit me. I would never let him abuse me. And I was kind of the same mindset. But then fast forward, my expectations for a relationship were that, you would meet someone, it would be amazing for the first few years, and then as time went on, you would just kind of settle into the relationship, bicker back and forth, fuss, and that would be a sign that you guys are really in love. Like we fight, like husband and wife or whatever. Like that was my whole concept of what a relationship was. If you see, Married with Children, I'm sure you guys have seen that one. I was like, okay, that's what a marriage is. That's what a relationship is. And so my whole foundation for a relationship was just effed up. It was just dysfunctional, and it wasn't something that kind of look forward to happiness or growth or any of that. So number one, my whole definition of love and relationships was off. So that's number one. Number two, I believed, just like when you see in the Disney movies and all these different movies, like You Complete Me, that whole thing, I believed in that whole you complete me propaganda type thing. And my husband will make me happy, my spouse, my partner will make me happy. And that was the second fail. So dysfunction in a relationship is normal. First fail. Second fail was the whole you complete me thing, that someone else could actually make you happy. And that was a big no-no that I know now is not healthy for anyone involved. And so what had happened? What had happened was I was married for like 7 years. The last 2 years were miserable. I know I wanted to get divorced, but I took it slow for my kids to kind of go through the motions of getting them used to me being away and them being with their dad and me being with them. And I got divorced with absolutely no intention, and I mean zero, of being in a relationship. And my ex kept asking me, if I was going to go out and date and get a boyfriend and get remarried and if I would have kids, because he didn't actually want to get divorced. And I'm like, listen, no, I'm not even up for any of that. I just want to be done and I want to enjoy myself and I just want to be by myself. And that's what I did. I was by myself. I got an apartment back in California. So I moved away from here for a little bit, went to California, had my apartment in Beverly Hills, and then just by coincidence, I went on a trip with my girlfriends to Argentina. Absolutely fell in love with Mendoza, Argentina, and decided to stay there. Like literally changed my flight from Santiago to LA, went back to Mendoza, Argentina, and looked for an apartment and got one. And so then I was living between Switzerland, Argentina, and the US. And I was there in Argentina. The beautiful thing was, I was really taking the time to get to know myself, really getting to take the time to understand my thoughts, understand my history, read amazing books like, I'm gonna give you this list and I want you to go look it up. Read amazing books like Psycho-Cybernetics, like You Were Born Rich, but for the soul, The Untethered Soul, another one that came from Oprah. The Big Leap, I think it's called, Taking the Big Leap. That was another one. And The Alchemist was another one. And I would listen to Abraham Hicks. It's a kind of medium, and she does a lot of life development, abundance, attraction work. And so I would just spend day in, day out, phone off, getting deep inside myself and understanding my thoughts, my history, and how my direct actions and how I felt contributed to every situation that I had ever been in. And through that experience, through talking with my friends about stuff, through reading, through meditating, through praying, all that kind of stuff, I really grew to understand myself and then also be able to understand how a lot of things that happened to me early in life, the negative talk from family members, the negative talk from friends, all this different stuff. I understand how that contributed to my lack of self-love and my lack of confidence to demand the relationship that I wanted. And I found out that my unhappiness had nothing to do with my partner. It wouldn't have been different if it were someone else. But I understood that, in order to be happy, I have to determine that I will be happy by my damn self and with no one else, And so I just began to fall madly in love with myself because I realized, and I read also, that the way you treat yourself, the way you believe in yourself, the way you see yourself is exactly how people around you are going to see you. If you don't have confidence, people are not going to treat you like a confident person. And I don't mean confident I keep it real. No, real intrinsic confidence. If you don't understand that your word is valuable, if you don't understand that your time is valuable, that you as a person are valuable, then people are going to treat you like that. But if you understand that, listen, my time is worthy, my words are worthy, my opinion is valuable, everything I want, I deserve, and will come to me because I'm going to take the steps that I need to take, for me with the universe and God to get to wherever I need to go. So, I don't have to feel bad about having an abundant life. I don't have to feel bad about having everything I want, and whoever is not there for me and encouraging me and pushing me forward and proud of me is not happy with their own life. So I can't be bothered. So I understood that me being happy by myself, for myself, just alone, that was a life-changing experience because now the friendships that I attract, my man that I attracted, everything that I attract now reflects how I feel on the inside. And really everything that you see from the outside, and I do mean everything that you feel from the outside, is a direct reflection of how you feel in the inside. So once I understood that, I really began to prioritize how I feel. Oprah says it time and time again, and I know back in the day she wasn't really there as a representative for the Black community, but everything that Oprah says is so true. She said, what did I just say? She said that, I'll fast forward to something else she said. She said, you have to be full of yourself and you have to be overflowing, because if you are not full and you don't have extra to give, then what you're giving is not from a place of love. It's from a place of sacrifice, and that's not a healthy place. So I understood that I needed to fall madly, deeply in love with myself. And then I just happened to be having like the worst 3 days ever. And that was in Mendoza. Like my dad missed his flight. Um, a leak sprang in my apartment, and then the apartment owner told me that I was gonna have to move to another apartment, and it was just like the worst. It literally happened in 24 hours, and it was the worst like 3 consecutive days ever. And so I decided the Lord is talking to me in all caps. I'm going to relax. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be quiet and wait until God speaks to me, right? And so I relaxed. I went and got a massage. I went for a horseback ride. And then I remember I was at the hotel by myself, like just chilling. I had never been on Tinder in Mendoza because I wasn't looking at like staying there or whatever. But I'm like, let me go ahead and chat with some people, see what's up. And the first person I connected with was my boyfriend. And we met the next day. And we met the next day. And the next day. And it was just a physical thing. And it was cool, but I enjoyed his company so much that I was like, okay, let's go. Let's just hang out for the whole time I'm here. And I was gonna be there for like a week at that time. And then I left and was supposed to go to New York. And this was nothing but God. So let me tell you, I flew to Buenos Aires and missed my flight with 3 hours time from going to one airport to the next. Like usually that airport trip takes 1 hour. For some reason it took like 2.5 hours, and I missed my flight, right? For some reason I had a standby flight, but the person who had booked it for me wasn't really like up for helping me change it. So I had to miss my flight. Every other flight that I checked out was like $2,000 or more. And the only place I could afford to go at that moment was back to Mendoza. And so I went back to Mendoza and we hung out for another week, and like sparks flew, right? And so I was like, after we like separated or went our separate ways, when I went back to Switzerland, he texted me and he was like, how are you? How do you feel? And I was just like, I don't know. Long story short, we decided that we're going to try this relationship with me living between countries or whatever, And the interesting thing is, we were not on either side looking for a relationship at all. In fact, before I met him, I had told my friend just days before I met him, like, celibacy is doing me a ton of favors. I'm so happy. I don't see a relationship in front of me at all. Literally told my friend this like 3 days before I met this guy. And I was just like, yes, I love this. I love myself. My life is going amazing, whatever. And then I met him and everything kind of like changed. But then I was like, okay, I made a commitment to myself, and then I later told him, I just want to let you know I am madly in love with myself. And if there is anything that I don't agree with, I don't like, whatever, I'm just letting you know that I've committed to myself, that I am going to be 100% with myself, and I'm going to only be in relationships, including friendships, but I'm only going to be in relationships that allow me to be my true, real self. And I told him, I don't expect this whole relationship to be perfect at all. And we definitely had some conversations. But I told him, I cannot compromise, sacrifice in any way that I don't 100% sign on to. Because if I do that, this is not a real relationship, and I'm not being honest with you, and you're not being honest with me. And my allegiance is to myself first and foremost, above anyone else, including my kids. My allegiance is to myself first, because if I'm happy and I'm satisfied and I'm full, then I can give everything to the next person, right? And so he was like, cool, I'm there too. But the reason why our relationship works so well, the reason why we're on a spiritual level way beyond anything I've ever experienced in any relationship at all, is because he committed to being himself. He committed to speaking his truth, even when it's uncomfortable. He goes to therapy, and he's, working on himself and building himself up to be a better person. And we are so conscious and careful about how we speak to each other, especially when we're arguing. We are so mindful of our intentions, of how we say things and how we communicate and how we're open, and we're constantly opening the door for being vulnerable with each other, but also creating a safe place for the other person to be vulnerable. And so it allows us to have complete honesty, and it's something that I've never had in any relationship before. So, yeah, we're super careful about how we communicate. We're mindful of each other. We really appreciate each other and who we are as people, and we're constantly working on ourselves separately from the relationship. We're not like, everything is we and us, because it's not all we and us. Like, some things he needs to work on that I don't need to work on, and vice versa, right? So the point is, we're constantly working on ourselves separately to be the best us that we can be. And then when we come together, we are whole, and we are not depending on each other to make each other happy. And so when it comes to sex, I mean, we finally get into that. How many minutes are we into this video? We finally get into the topic like 16 minutes in. Whoa, okay. So the reason why it works so well is because we're able to completely let go and be in the moment. And that ability to be in the moment comes purely from everything else. Like the fact that I'm not worried about what he's thinking about the noise I'm making or the faces I'm making, or, I feel confident in myself, so I can move and be comfortable and still like really focus on him. Like, I don't know. It's just like being honest and open and vulnerable and communicating well and understanding each other and really loving each other just allows us to have an openness that a lot of people don't have. And it's, like the whole love making process is just a whole different thing that it never was for me before. And I was just commenting to him, like a month ago. I can't believe, or no, let me rephrase that. Universe, don't listen to that. I was telling him that it's so incredible that our relationship, it hasn't gone from, the first moment jitters or, the puppy love or whatever, and slowly deteriorated into like a comfort zone. But rather, in this relationship, I am growing all the time. In this relationship, we're learning all the time. Our sex is so much better than when we first started. Like, our sex is incredible. Like, it doesn't even hold a candle. Like, the first sex didn't even hold a candle to what we have now, and it's always getting better. The closer we get, the more we understand each other, and it's amazing. So basically, I want to wrap that up and say that, great sex has everything to do with how confident you are in yourself, and that comes from being honest with yourself and really knowing who you are. And it comes from your partner doing the same thing, not relying on someone or something else to make them feel good or make them feel whole or make them feel happy. It comes from them working on themselves, and then you two whole people coming together in bliss and just like knocking it out. So yeah, I hope that explained everything. Bye from Switzerland.